Hello, everyone. This is Steve Herman, author of Mediumship Mastery, the ultimate guide. I'm going to talk a little bit about what happens oftentimes with mediums, and it can really shake the confidence of medium. And that's when a medium is working. It could be an individual session, or they're doing platform work, they're demonstrating mediumship. It could be in a theater, in a spiritualist church, whatever the context. But in any case, the individual who's the recipient of the communication says no. They say no. They do not identify or recognize the spirit coming through or the information that the medium is giving out. For whatever reason, that individual who's the recipient says no. They do not understand. It's incorrect information according to the recipient. How do you handle that as a medium? And you can just imagine if you're working as a medium, especially if you're less experienced, you might feel very intimidated by this and think, oh my gosh, I'm wrong. What am I going to do? And I'll tell you what you want to do. First of all, we have to consider a few things. Just because you're giving the information out and you might be completely accurate, you haven't misinterpreted anything, you haven't embellished it at all with your own thoughts, because this information that you're receiving mentally, it's working through your own mind. And it's pretty easy for a medium to add a little bit of themselves into it or leave parts of the message out that are pertinent, make assumptions and add it to the communication. So there can certainly be error. But if you're very, very, very careful with what you're doing, if you've got extremely good training, which is why the education and the training is so important, it's going to prevent error from taking place or certainly minimize it from happening. So there's a lot of genuine reasons why someone might say no. And we're not going to even get into situations in which a person deliberately says no just because they don't want anyone else to know about the information or they want to just somehow prove the medium wrong. We're going to leave those types of situations out. Of course, sometimes people do that, but that's rare. In most cases, if someone says no, it really has to do because they think that the medium's wrong. They're not relating to the information for one reason or another. Now, you can definitely have psychic amnesia where you describe the person's grandfather or uncle to a T, and at the time they get the communication, it just doesn't compute. It just doesn't fall into place. Or they forget about that friend of theirs they went to high school with, who you describe in quite specific detail. That can happen. But as a medium, how do you handle that situation? So what I would suggest is you want to go back to the world of the spirit. You've got this really, if you're working with spirit, a very strong connection with the spirit world. And if they give you information, they put a lot of effort into this. They orchestrate things precisely. They're not going to lie to you. They're not going to lie to the recipient. If they're giving you information, there is a reason for that information being given. Now, there's a lot of reasons why someone might not understand information at the time. And it's good if someone does understand it, isn't it? But just realize you don't always have control over the situation as a medium in that sense. You don't always have control over the receptivity of the recipient. And you definitely don't know the overall picture of what's taking place and what needs to be conveyed and the reasons behind it. You, as a medium, are just the intermediary. You're the instrument for the spirit world to work through. And your job is to be as honest, ethical in your dealings, and as accurate as possible, and give it out as you're getting it. So if you've got really good training, like I say, that will certainly minimize, if not prevent, error from taking place. So you go back to the world of the spirit. You've got that link, and you ask for more information. And ideally, the spirit world will give you some other bits of information that, along with what you've already presented that was not being understood or where you're getting the no from, that will resonate with the person, that will be recognized by the person. Sometimes the spirit helpers, the personalities working with you, they'll just word it in a little bit different way. They'll add a little bit to it and provide a bit of a different twist to it. And as you say it in that way, it's completely recognized and understood by the recipient. Now, that's not always the case. In most cases, that's what takes place. You go back to spirit and the person totally understands it. But in some cases, they still won't understand it. They still will say no. So in that case, you have to trust what the world of spirit is telling you. Be very clear with what you're getting. Be very focused with your connection with the world of spirit. But trust what they're giving you. Because I can think of so many times where the recipient of a communication thought, oh my gosh, that medium is nuts. I had this one guy in Canada once, and he just thought, oh my gosh. I mean, he understood the reading, but one of the communicators he just didn't recognize. Well, Steve was really right about everything in the reading except that one guy like a father. I didn't know who that was. That's just a bunch of bunk. He was totally wrong about that. So what did he do? He had taped the session. He went home and he played the tape for his wife. And she instantly recognized the individual as being the gentleman I was working with, stepfather, who was in the spirit world. So you can have things like that happen often. And when we talk about evidence, oftentimes the evidence that is the greatest evidence, the greatest proof of survival, it's the information that at the time receives a no. And I can think of many, many, many cases like that over the decades I've been working as a medium. So I want to encourage all of you who are working as mediums, don't get thrown off by someone saying no. Feel empowered. Feel connected to the world of spirit. And when someone says no, go right back to the spirit world and get more information. Now, sometimes they may be unable to provide information that the person will immediately recognize for one reason or another. Don't worry about that. Don't get too hung up on that. Don't automatically assume that you're messing things up and that you're somehow wrong. Because I'll tell you, in most cases, it has to do with the recipient, especially if you really are being ultra careful with what you're doing and you've got pretty good training. That's not going to happen too much. What I would also suggest is when you're working with the world of the spirit, you have to really rely on them. You have to trust in them completely. And that's why working on having a really strong connection, it's going to help you in those situations. Someone who's less experienced, when someone says no or possibly is even reacts in a very hostile or negative manner toward the medium, maybe they just don't like what they're hearing for one reason or another. If you have a really strong type of connection with the spirit world, in any situation, you're not going to be thrown off. And that's what can happen when someone says no. Automatically, someone who's a novice medium or inexperienced or just lacks confidence in themselves is going to start thinking, well, I must be wrong, and they start getting themselves in the way. So I hope these are some ideas that you'll try to implement within your own practice of mediumship. You have such an opportunity as a medium to help other people, not just people here in the physical world, but people in the spirit world as well. So thank you very much for watching this, and certainly I appreciate your support. Please subscribe if you enjoy my videos. Please share it with your friends, and if you're interested in the training, and because I have both online courses as well as in-person mediumship programs, please get in touch because I'm really into helping other mediums with their development. So may God bless each and every one of you.